Want to step into your next stage of business like a royal? Well, then stay tuned to discover the 6 secrets of Meghan Markle's step out from actress to royal that we can leverage when stepping into our next stage of business in this episode of the Storyteller's Advantage podcast. Welcome to the Storyteller's Advantage podcast, the podcast where entrepreneurs and business owners can discover ways to cut through the noise and step into your next stage of business. I'm your host, Donna Lenzik, so let's get to this week's episode. Over the past weeks and months across the globe, people have been keen on the royal wedding of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Now, I actually still haven't watched the actual ceremony. I have read various media pieces, and I couldn't help but not observe the degree of grace that Meghan stepped into this next stage of her life and her career. And as I reflected, I realized that there was really 6 secrets of stepping into our next stage as inspired by this journey that she took that was shared in the media. She shifted from accomplished actress to new royal as the Duchess of Sussex. And some might say that her journey was only about romance and the marriage of Prince Harry, but to me, there's much more to it than that because of what her role is now. And therefore, we have an opportunity to learn from it. So the first secret is chunk up your journey into phases. We don't have to do it all in one day. Now, Meghan's journey into royalty definitely had defined phases to it, whether she defined it or not. First there was the private dating phase, then the public dating, then the engagement, then the wedding. And now, after the wedding is now the early days of being a new Duchess. Now in the first part when she was private dating, it was at a time for her and Harry to get to know each other. And in many ways, I compared it to like the product evaluation phase in a business, the idea phase. Is this a possibility? Is there a possible fit? And then once the relationship can be more public at each stage, as she steps into this, she was bringing her past with her strengths that she has. As an accomplished activist, humanitarian, and an actress, she's bringing a lot of strength into the role of a royal. And we do too, whatever our next stage is. We're bringing those strengths that we have from our past into our future. The key thing is she didn't make all of these steps in this, within a week. She did over a period of 2 years. And sometimes we question whether when we're trying to pivot our business that we should be able to turn on a dime or, 6 months or so. But if it's a big shift and we want to do it with grace and ease, we're going to need to do this over some phases and over time. So secret 1, chunk up the journey into phases. We don't need to do it all in one day. So the second secret, don't do it alone. Have some good advisors and confidants. Now, when I reflect back at all I've read, Meghan was surrounded by trusted confidants and advisors that had her back. This included, of course, Prince Harry and others, but there's a couple that I just want to reference that are unique to help her with this transition. First off, I'm going to mention someone, Jessica Maroney, supposedly a really great friend of Meghan's for years. She's also a fabulous stylist. She knows Meghan, and having a personal relationship coupled with great stylist skills, she had someone to help her step through the stages of what to wear, how to design her wedding day, all of that brings the pieces together. Secondly of all, she had Kate Middleton. So she's someone that's gone through this transition or similar transition of stepping into royal life. So Kate living next door is someone who is great to have somebody close by like that. And lastly of all, it sounds like she's now going to be working with a past advisor of the Queen for the next 6 months and doing training as a Duchess. And so to me, the key thing as we step into our next stage, we do need to have people around us that we can talk confidently, get some good advice, having someone that knows us as well as new people that understand the new role and where we're headed is really helpful of having that combination. So secret 2, don't do it alone. Have some great advisors, some great confidants. Secret 3, dress the part. Now, Meghan's always seemed to have an awesome taste of clothing, but there's a difference between LA dressing and Toronto dressing as compared to a royal at times. And putting on a costume like that, as if we are an actor putting on a persona, it helps us to become more of that person who we intend to become. Now again, Meghan didn't do it all in one day. Royal dress supposedly includes wearing hosiery on the legs. And the media made a big deal that she didn't do that. She did that on her first outing as being a duchess, which supposedly she didn't do prior to that as much or at all. That said, now you might be wondering what dressing the part has to do with stepping to your next stage. Well, it does it in two accounts. First off, it helps us to perceive ourselves in that new role. And so it's like putting on a costume. So it helps us put that new role on. There's a difference of dress of welder to executive. Needless to say, when we're stepping into our next stage, there can be a change in dress too. And even if there isn't, if there's something slight that's in our head in terms of this stands for my new role, it can help us perceive us and step into that new role much more easier. Secondly of all, it helps others perceive us in that new role too. And sometimes that's needed as well. Secret 3, dress the part. Secret 4, bring some of the old into the new. Now, Meghan didn't drop her full old life for her old one, although at times I think the media tried to paint it as if she did. But instead, she selectively selected things from her past and merged them with the new. And because the thing is, if we bring everything from the old into the new, we just don't have space for everything. She selected one dog, the beagle, I understand, to move with her to London, while the other dog, older, maybe not as healthy, stayed with friends in North America. She invited her Suits colleagues and friends who were like her family on that set, while not inviting some of her relatives that she hadn't been close by for years. Then later on the royal family's website, while shared her, past humanitarian efforts, it didn't disclose some of her acting career elements. The key thing is, for each instance, what from the past made sense to be merged in the new. And the key is, we need to select what is best and what's necessary and sufficient for our future and leave the rest. And it can be difficult for us to do that because if we just overlay our new on top of what we currently have, it's just overwhelming and we don't have space. And we can kind of take that analogy of our closets. If we keep on just buying clothes and we never take anything out, our closets are overflowing and we can't find anything in there. It's just like our lives and our businesses. So secret 4, bring some of the old into the new. Secret 5, get the tools you'll need to have in place. As Meghan stepped into her new Duchess role, one of the tools that she needed was official letterhead for official correspondence. Now, she also may have invested several pairs of hosiery, so she has that and the new nail polish for that royal look. Anyway, the list goes on. Now, you might think this might be kind of odd to list those types of things like nail polish, hosiery, and letterhead as business tools, but they were tools that were communicated in the media. And just like her, we also need to look at what are the necessary tools that we need in the new role. Now, also one of the tools that she got into place was her new coat of arms. And it's lovely symbolic, bringing both who she is, her past, and her new role all into one visual piece. And when I read it, I was reminded of a time when I was back in grade 3 or grade 4, when my teacher here in Canada gave us an assignment to create a coat of arms for ourselves. And when I think back at it, it is the perfect visual exercise for us to do when we're stepping into our next stage of business. So get the tools you'll need to have in place. Secret 6, the show must go on. Now, in the week before the wedding, there was a bit of controversy that hit the media about Meghan's dad. And in light of his health, he wasn't able to travel to come to the wedding. Anyways, a gig like that with that degree of dollars and degree of plans, that's something that just can't be rescheduled, no matter who you are, or pretty challenging to do so. The thing is, our stepping into our next stages of business and life can't either. And too often we postpone our dreams because of other things that arise. And that just doesn't help anything. Just because it can be rescheduled, the bigger question is whether it really should. So secret 6 is the show must go on. Well, those are the 6 secrets in stepping into the next stage of business that I observed in Meghan stepping out into her next stage as a member of the royal family. She appears publicly to have stepped into that next stage with much ease and grace, and I commend her on that. And I encourage us all to not delay and apply these 6 secrets so that we can step into our next stage like a royal. You've been listening to the Storyteller's Advantage podcast. To go deeper into today's topic, Check out the show notes for the podcast episode on the website, thestorytellersadvantage.com. Sign up for the newsletter there so that you're automatically notified when new podcast episodes and other resources are available, and to get your free visual playbook on this topic. Until we meet again, I leave you with this message. Our world is waiting for us to step into our next stage of business. It's time, so let's go.